Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And we love talking about sustainability and higher education, and we get to combine those two. We're honored to have with us Dodd Galbreath. He is the Associate Professor and the Director of the Institute for Sustainable Practice graduate program at Lipscomb University. How are you doing?
I'm excited. Looking forward to this.
Well, let's start out with some congratulations. You were recently awarded the Robert Sparks Walker Lifetime Achievement Award from the Governor and Commissioner of the Environment for Tennessee. So congratulations there. Let's start out with a little context and some background. Give us some background for the Institute for Sustainable Practice graduate program at Lipscomb University.
Yeah, we were the first in the Southeast to do this. The first PhD program in the world to offer a sustainability PhD degree started a year or two before we started. So we didn't know that. So we were really fortunate. I got in this business because I was doing sustainability as a consultant and had worked in all sectors of environmental economy, environmental sociology when I was in government. And it was just a natural fit for me. And so at the time, Lipscomb wanted to start several innovative programs and institutes that this one particularly was intended to reach out into the community. And we started 5 Green Business Summits, the first in Tennessee. But our primary purpose is to give employers what they're looking for, and that is kind of the ultimately trained professional. Someone with a master's degree is expected to be equipped with maturity, the best of critical thinking, ready to go managerial capacity. And we offer a Master of Science in Sustainability, which is kind of our go-to technical problem-solving degree. We offer dual degrees. You can get a Master of Science in Sustainability and an MBA in 2 years, and you get 2 full diplomas, but you only have to take 48 hours instead of the full 66 hours since they're matched together. And then we also offer about 7 technical certificates for folks who want to kind of dip their toe in the water. You get graduate credit for those. And we're just now launching a new professional certificate program where you can take a seminar format and basically earn a renewable energy certificate or a green building certificate and so forth.
When you look at the term sustainability, it's become a buzzword, especially in corporate America, but there's a lot to it. So how do you define sustainability?
Yeah, it's really simple. We just want our kids to have it as good or better than we had it. And that means we can't keep spending and living out of a savings account. The planet is like a big trust fund. It's a gigantic trust fund, but it will spin down eventually. We're not making coal and oil anymore. As a matter of fact, every time we burn coal and oil, we're taking heavily dense carbon and we're putting up into the atmosphere the most chemically reactive environment that's available for really fast results. And that's why we're seeing crazier storms and weirder storm events. So sustainability is also focusing on this existential threat of an unhealthy atmosphere and an unhealthy planet, including loss of biodiversity. But more importantly, it's a triple bottom line. It's friendly to business, it's friendly to people. So we're integrating complete problem solving.
I know this is hard because it's complex, but in many cases, it sounds like a huge thing when you talk about sustainability, but yet, confusing on where do you start? And so you're talking with your students and looking, especially as a consultant, where do you kind of like to start to narrow it down on, okay, how can we start to make a difference, especially in such a complex environment?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. We start with who the student is. This is a broad field, and it's intended to be a field that you can specialize in. So it's broad because we don't want to solve air pollution and then create a ground pollution problem, a groundwater pollution problem because we put the wrong type of additive in the air pollution solution. So that's what got us to this point. So when a student comes to our program, we look at their undergrad major and we look at any work experience they've got, and that generally defines their path. If they're more business focused, they'll focus on business attributes of sustainability. If they're more engineering focused, science focused, they might be a real estate appraiser. We've had a pharmacist go through the program. We've had 10 different types of engineers go through the program. We had a waitress go through the program who was a home builder in her part-time job. And we just green that up. We start with what they have and we focus it and specialize it, and that's what makes them successful, and that's what makes that's why we have such a good placement record.
Where does Tennessee stand when you look at where we are relative to other states?
Well, we're way ahead in some areas and we're way behind in others. For example, we're leading the Southeast right now in electric car production and electric car battery and components of batteries. I was just looking last night. I'm going to glance at my notes here. For example, we've had LG Chem in Clarksville, SK Innovation. It's building a battery plant for Ford in West Tennessee. Ultimate LG down in the Spring Hill for GM. And then you've got Volkswagen, GM, Nissan, and Ford. And when you add up all these numbers, you're approaching $20 billion plus dollars in investment. That is a crazy amount of money. Matter of fact, the most recent battery component factory that announced in Tennessee set a record for Tennessee foreign company investment. So we're very fortunate to be building upon a past that's moving away from the internal combustion engine, that's moving towards the electric automobile. But in terms of renewable energy, other states in the Southeast are doing much better. Georgia, for example, a guy by the name of Bubba, who was chairman of the Georgia Utilities Commission, got reelected. He was a Trump supporter, but he got reelected because he was pushing solar in that state. He'd gone to Germany and basically became scared that Georgia was going to get left behind. And that's really what it's about. It's about competitiveness.
How do you balance on your end? Because you've had the honor of working with Democrats and Republicans. And so when you talk about things like climate change and, green energy, sustainability, how do you navigate the politics of Republicans and Democrats and independents and everything to ultimately get things done?
All of us are human, and all of us generally know children or maybe have grandchildren in our future. And, that's what drove John Kennedy when he was trying to deal with nuclear proliferation. That's what drove Ronald Reagan, when he was trying to negotiate for a safer, better world. We're all thinking about our kids. Secondly, everybody wants to succeed. I used to work with Republican politicians who had constituents who were the majority of the voters in their district, who would ask them to do things that ideologically their party didn't want them to do, and they would do it. And I saw that happen. I'm very blessed. I grew up with a Barry Goldwater uncle and two Yellow Dog Democrat parents, and so I just never knew there was anything but a bipartisan approach in our family. We had huge arguments. I listened to people slam the phone down when they were talking to each other. But we can't also be afraid of a little friction, a little conflict, because that's healthy and that's how we get the results. We can't keep moving into tribes. It's just not going to get solved that way.
You mentioned the electric vehicle side of things. What are some of the other things that really have your attention, especially for the state of Tennessee, that are moving us in the right direction? So beyond the electric vehicles, what are some other things that really have your attention?
Yeah, I'll have to give the Tennessee Department of Environment Conservation a lot of credit. We're continuing to invest in basically the foundation of safety in the future. We're continuing to protect natural areas. We're continuing to protect natural rivers and even the function and the geometric configuration of rivers. We're not trying to channelize and dam up anything anymore like we used to, because those natural arteries and those natural sponges of the environment that soak up floods, those sources of biodiversity that also create cures for all kind of medical discoveries. Half of the medical discoveries in one Food and Drug Administration report over 25 years came from nature. All those things give us resilience, give us the elasticity to bounce back. The other thing that I think Nashville is leading in particular is we, with Mayor Carl Dean in particular, for example, and now our current mayor, we're continuing to invest in downtown, going vertical. We're trying not to sprawl out as much. I'm worried about the new sprawl that we're getting from people who are moving away from coastlines, which is part of the climate change challenge. If you don't believe in climate change, just talk to people who are experiencing more fires in Oregon and California and higher king tides in Miami and Virginia Beach and Boston. I mean, it's here. Those natural cycles were natural. They did used to create these kind of events, but you don't see extremes as fast when the atmosphere is not changing unnaturally.
When you look at that, what's your take on being able to recalibrate and balance? So in other words, are you hopeful that if we take the right steps, we can mitigate and better control the future and, or possibly even reverse some of the things that are going on? Where do you fall on that spectrum of hopeful versus, practical? Where are we on that?
Well, the hopeful part, of course, I work for a faith-based university, so the planet was created out of nothing by a creator, so there's a lot of hope in that. And there's a lot of hope in technology. There's a lot of hope in American culture. We're a nation that was formed by minute men and minute women who showed up and beat the most powerful military in the world. And then we created a country from scratch that everybody is emulating and copying if they have much sense about succeeding and competing in life. And so we have this long history of surviving two world wars, and before that, the Civil War, internal strife, tribal strife. And more recently, we've overcome some major challenges to democracy. So I do feel like the future is full of opportunity, but with every series of historical events, you'll find a common characteristic. People have to step up, most of the time people at the bottom, and make it happen. And there's a lot of work to be done here.
What would your words of encouragement be, or a couple of recommendations, especially for corporate leaders who say, okay, I'm grinding it out over here, but I want to be more on the positive path. I want to power the good, focused on sustainability. I want to be more sustainable with my business. What are a couple of recommendations and tips for them to get started?
Oh gosh, well, one, read a few biographies about the founding individuals of our country and see how they dealt with strife and trouble and difficulty. They didn't have solutions at their fingertips. They had to look for innovation. They had to think innovatively. So that's one. Secondly, look in the mirror and say, we've done this before. It's believe in your our own ability to collectively work this out. And then secondly, invest the money in the innovation, invest the money in the people you need. Hire sustainability professionals, hire people with our degrees. The head of environmental management for North and South America with Bridgestone is one of our alumni. The head of supply chain management for a major mattress company is one of our alumni. So we also have a gentleman who's designing the manufacturing for the Rivian truck and the Amazon delivery vehicle. That's one of our alumni. So, we started with nothing here at Lipscomb, and we're generating talent. You can too. And but you have the most capacity of anyone to do this. And look at all these companies that I just mentioned, these billions of dollars pouring into Tennessee. Other CEOs are going to leave you behind if you don't get on the bandwagon.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing, just like you said, is make the commitment to take action. That's the key. So talk about how we can help when you look at, obviously, just one, knowing what you're doing, helping to raise awareness. And for those who are listening and watching and saying, wow, this sounds like something I want to, take those next steps. So how can the community help your efforts, kind of tying back to the Institute for Sustainable Practice graduate program at Lipscomb University? How can we help your efforts?
Yeah, I'll give you a reason of why I'm going to give you this answer. And the reason is I myself took one of those kind of planetary footprint tests. And before I started living more sustainably, I was eating up like 4.5 planets like everybody else. I was burning out of that trust fund, just running it dry. When I changed my lifestyle, I got it down to about 2.3 planets. And that's because I'm connected to a society that I'm not off the grid. I'm not out in the wilderness somewhere, carving myself out of a little regenerative niche. So as long as I'm connected to society, that means all of us are in this together. We're stuck in a larger tribe that we're going to have to get along with and work with. So that means, this is what I tell my students, that means you got to be an informed consumer, you got to be an informed voter, and you got to be an informed professional. So at every level, you need to do your role as an individual buyer, as an individual policymaker, as an individual professional. And, you could take you can watch YouTube and learn about different aspects of sustainability. You can get it faster, by investing a little bit in a certificate, professional certificate or a degree if you want to help lead the way, if this is your passion. I really can't think of any aspect of society that doesn't need to be, quote, greened up. Everybody revolutioned up, when it came time to create a new nation. And I think that's what's going to happen here.
So talk about website, contact information. Where can we go to learn more and also take those next steps?
Yeah, if you just Google Lipscomb and sustainability, you'll find us. I think the shorthand is Lipscomb/sustainability. But go to our Facebook page and just do a search for Institute for Sustainable Practice at Lipscomb University. You'll find a regular release of information about current trends in Tennessee, current trends in sustainability. We do have events that we partner with other groups with in town. For example, last May, we had a faith-based scholars event. We're invited also people in from churches to talk about a livable world. So we'll be announcing those periodically. And our College of Leadership and Public Service has broader programs as well that we support and that we green up and contribute to. So feel free to join in those, as well as activities at Lipscomb University. I do want to put in a plug for the city of Nashville and Vanderbilt University. They just launched a new solar farm. Vanderbilt's going to be carbon neutral way before most people's deadlines of 2035 and 2050. Metro Nashville, I think, is a third of the way there. There's wonderful things going on in our community for you to reach out and learn about. I'm really shocked, that people don't know much about a lot of what's already going on. And when I hear people skeptical, I think, well, that's great. That's okay. That's their right. But at the same time, when you got multiple billions going into car battery plants, that's an indicator that things are changing, and it's exciting.
Just means we have to get you back on more often talking about all these positive storylines.
I appreciate it.
Well, Dodd, thank you for all you and your amazing team do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, glad to be here, pal. Thank you for what you're doing. This is democracy at work and capitalism at its best.